everyone. As you can see, I'm back in the office, but I've actually collected quite a few video clips of retailers and small businesses in the area. They make a much more interesting background than pictures of me. So see you in a minute.
I would start this installment with a question. What lane were you in pre-COVID? Did your contact-free payment option turn shoppers into return customers? Did members of the local club you support often show up in your store? Did customers love to shop in your store because their dog always got a treat? Did almost all customers take advantage of the alteration service available in your shop? These are examples of the main market strategies in action pre-COVID, and there's no reason to think that they're going to disappear post-COVID. If anything, they're more likely to expand and accelerate in response to the shifts in market trends that we've been discussing. The need for social distancing, changes in the supply chain management systems, a real estate market with excess empty commercial space, and demographic adjustments are recent imperatives changing how technology, omni-channel retail, personalization, and customer experience act on bricks and mortar. Technology, of course, is literally involved with every market trend and therefore affecting all physical environments. 3 technology-driven areas in particular are new or accelerated post-COVID, and although indirect, their impact on the physical store could be substantial. Once businesses begin to open and eventually stabilize, we can expect there to be changes in how they are staffed. Informed and skilled staff will be in high demand, even as others are not recalled, and technology is expected to play an important role in reducing their secondary duties, supplying critical product and service information, imparting customer data, and instilling human safety procedures. By shifting complexity upstream, that is, pushing functions like tagging, pricing, coding, inventory management, etc., out to vendors and distributors, owners can free up valuable in-store staff for customer service. There are also new hybrid and diversified supply chain models in development and use. These are aimed at stabilizing inventories, but if planned correctly, should reduce the staff workload as well. These previous are intended to reduce the amount of time that store personnel must spend on non-customer focused work. But what about improving customer engagement? How well a business communicates, informs, and interacts with a customer may define the way forward for many. Technology and the tools it offers will provide a path not only for communication between staff and shoppers, but also training. Finally, sophisticated data collection functions are attached to many e-commerce and POS systems. These become increasingly more important as businesses begin to make use of the information they collect. Those working in the business-to-business environment know the benefit of a good customer relationship management product. It doesn't take much to see how useful something similar would be for a retailer. As we know, omni-channel business was a hot topic for market strategists pre-COVID. Well, it's about to take a turn post-COVID. The question is, in what direction? Interestingly, I'm not even sure if omni-channel is the right term anymore. It has to do with our perception of bricks and mortar as a marketing tool. It's been implied that owners and developers have begun to think of a mall as a media channel, even a mega channel for their brand. It's not difficult to see how this idea applies to individual businesses and retailers as well. It's a concept with far-reaching implications, one that we will look at in the last of this series. Before we jump too far ahead, though, omni-channel has typically had to do with the myriad of pathways available for businesses to market themselves. We know what these are and have been pre-COVID. Post-COVID, new pathways are rapidly appearing, and they're mostly centered around alternative shopping models developed in response to market demands. Here are a few examples that have recently appeared or reappeared. Shop by appointment, escorted shopping, and that can be offer online. Photospheres used to provide a virtual stroll through a store. Rent a runway. Rent a product. Tray or curated ordering. Peer-to-peer selling. Cross-market cooperation for pickup and returns. Granted, some of these send customers away from a physical shop. Nevertheless, they're marketing opportunities which, if the business is dealing with a product, eventually lead back to bricks and mortar and therefore how it is designed. Some would say no omni-channel, no retail. The challenge is for a business to pick and perfect their channel. To paraphrase one of the experts, e-commerce does not a great store make. Nowhere is this statement more true than in the area of the all-important shopping experience. A post-COVID store must be safe and show it. It must also provide an appealing shopping environment in terms of pre-COVID market strategies. The key is making these work together. Stores designated essential, meaning big or semi-big box chain type retailers, seem to have done a fairly good and quick job of accomplishing this, mostly because they have a lot of space for social distancing and were already invested in many contactless technologies for transactions and person-to-person interaction. They also managed traffic through the stores, trained their staff, added transparent protective barriers, provided hand sanitizer stations, and then announced what they were doing via social media and every other channel to which they subscribed. In short, the book on how to do this so far is already written. There's more to it though, especially for small or medium independent specialty or service type businesses and retailers. How will these be able to drive traffic back into their shops? One answer has to do with showrooming. Actually, any retailer, not just the small guys, who's connected to an e-commerce catalog of merchandise and even service to an extent, has an opportunity to participate in this activity. The difference, small guys are more able to provide the service this type of model requires. Just ask anyone who's ever stood in a customer service line at a Target how important this is. Smaller shops for sure have spatial challenges, but these can be overcome. Customer service, on the other hand, is only as good as the knowledgeable and interested staff member who delivers it. It's often where independents excel. If a retailer is inclined toward showrooming, there's an additional qualification to be considered. A consistent supply chain is required for showrooming to succeed. If any disruptions are anticipated, then the retailer may want to consider a fill-from inventory model. This, of course, requires more investment in time, cash, space, but the payoff can give the retailer an edge in their particular market. One last point is worth making in terms of customer experience, and it may be so obvious as to be unnecessary to mention. It has to do with location. As previously mentioned, there are changes afoot in the real estate market. Not all have to do with COVID-19. If a business is in a location that's being negatively impacted by COVID-19 long term, they may want to consider a move. This can be for any reason: spatial constraints, site and parking issues, demographics, and even a declining retail environment in the area. There are and will continue to be many creative opportunities for them to improve their circumstances. It's better to move than stay shut down. I find it difficult to separate personalization from the shopping experience, probably because of its connection to service, which often drives customers to a small business. It proves the edict, retailer, know thy customer, and gives rise to some interesting possibilities for new customer-centric stores. Certainly, small businesses should not expect to be the only players in the field of personalization, as many large chains are now looking to smaller, more specialized models with inventories based on localized preferences, income levels, and demographics. Inventories are becoming curated, and there has even been discussion of concept and manufacturer stores by brand. For example, think in terms of an entire store of Tide-related products, services, and information. Not, by the way, to be confused with an outlet store. Going forward, it's an area of new opportunity for technology-savvy and motivated business owners. Recently, I've seen one too many highly specialized, old, well-regarded local retailers fall by the wayside because they were unable to keep current with even very simple online activities. These were missed opportunities, leaving holes in the market waiting to be filled by others. But more on that subject when we look at the way forward. Before moving on to the exciting part of this series, which is the next and last installment, there's one quick topic which has so far been neglected. It's immunity. Yes, discount stores in particular have already and are expected to survive, even thrive post-COVID. TJ Maxx, who owns similar companies like HomeGoods, is an often cited example, as is Goodwill, who represents the sell it again model. Interestingly, they work in different markets but seem to prosper for the same reason, which is tied to their merchandise supply. TJ Maxx has tapped into an enormous source of seriously cheap merchandise. It has built up a global network of buying power in the area of liquidated inventories. This source is only expected to expand as designer and other brands close under pressure from the current crisis. They sell cheap and don't worry much about social media and online marketing. Goodwill and others, by attaching their activities to good causes, have likewise found an equally enormous source of discarded and unwanted merchandise at a time when the stigma attached to the idea of used is all but gone. In terms of business models, they're both successful and even emulatable. Please remember that links to the reference sources are repeated again at the end of this post. This concludes this edition in the series. Please stay tuned for the next and last installment, which will be coming soon.